Check 1, 2. Got it.
Podcasting since 2005. This is the King of Podcasts radio network. kingofpodcasts.com.
Another week, another TKO TV deal, and WWE does a double cross.
Woo! Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence. The King of Podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
This is episode 951 of the Wrestling is Real podcast. Welcome to the program. King of Podcasts here with you. kingofpodcasts.com is the website. Of course, you can find wherever you find this program and all my other content of the King of Podcasts radio network, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and all the platforms. And of course on YouTube, the major platform, YouTube, at King of Podcasts. You can find all the content there. Okay, now there's a triple threat of narratives going on this week, and we have Triple Mania coming up this weekend. So there's a couple of things that will go all triple tonight. But there's a number of stories we're going to go and cover, and I want to just go ahead and lay it out real quickly. Number one, the importance of TKO's new deal getting the UFC over to CBS and Paramount Plus to the tune of $7.7 billion. That's incredible, along with what the money they're making right now with WWE. But the thing is, I want to focus just on the fact of what that's going to mean now for TKO and the kind of money they're going to be drawing in now as a result for doing all this. And they also have a deal with boxing they're trying to set up as well in Saudi Arabia, which was a plan that Nick Khan had set all together. And this all being done before his contract comes up to be either renewed, or who knows what Nick Khan could do. I mean, I don't know why he would leave right now with the kind of money and lucrative deals that are coming into play right now for the next 5 years at least. But we need to look at where WWE stands now in the full context. Because when we talked about the financial numbers of TKO a few months ago, the TKO effect, I talked about the kind of money that was be in place for TKO Group Holdings because they were holding on to $3 million in debt, or $3 billion in debt, right? Because of UFC after they acquired it. There was debt they acquired along with the deal. And right now this broadcast deal's, let's see if that's actually going to turn things around. And if the UFC will in fact actually make more money. And what's more important than that is that the PLE model for UFC, which always was a big ticket item for pay-per-view, that pay-per-view model is starting to go away. The second story is Karrion Kross, who, regardless of anybody thinking that this might be a work, and I've heard enough people out there, dirt sheets, podcasters, all that. Listen, all of you want to be in that juvenile delusional fandom alongside with them, and you want to think that WWE is so smart that they're going to put a work on us like they did with Seth Rollins with an injury and say, oh, this is what's going to happen here. So they're going to think, all right, you saw what Ron Killings, what happened to him, who legitimately was without a contract, but then popular demand brought him back. Second, you have Seth Rollins saying he got injured, only to go ahead and cash in and become World Heavyweight Champion. Okay, then you have that part where I had already said it was a work. When I said with Ron Killings, I believed it was a shoot, and then they brought him back to try to play it off like it was a work, right? Fast forward today to Karrion Kross, who we learned as of August 10th, and there's a couple of clips from the Ariel Helwani show because Karrion Kross appeared on that program today as we're recording and spoke out about it. There's a lot of clips to get into tonight in context with everything else. And then finally, the idea that WWE right now wants to continue to go ahead and bully and push around the number 2 competition in AEW for whatever reason. So now apparently they're going to do a show, I believe they're saying it's in Minneapolis, I believe it is, and it would be in September, a pay-per-view that was not scheduled to go up against All Out. Because they want to do that. And then they're looking to go ahead and put a pay-per-view, which they didn't even plan to have a pay-per-view in December, and put it up at World's End up against World's End because they want to put John Cena's final match on that card. And by the way, the September card that they want to go and put up against AEW All Out, they want to put John Cena and Brock Lesnar, the match we already know is going to be set up coming out of SummerSlam. They're going to put that match right there. That's their plan. Amazing. It's petty. It's really petty to see that the company wants to do this, but they're just going to do what they want. There's no autonomy. There's no honor among corporations. Never. Especially a tyrannical company like TKO Group Holdings. Listen, for all the accolades I can give them on being able to make some big scoring broadcast deals, as they've been able to do, they've proven time and time and again how they've been able to do that. And I must say, they do a pretty damn good job of that. Now, Mark Shapiro, I believe. No, actually, Mark Shapiro's here, and he's speaking with CNBC about the TKO Paramount deal. So let's go into this right now and take quickly what was being said about the PLE model, because there was a lot of things being said. Let's just take something quickly for the announcement as CNBC spoke with them.
I will say the following. We started out actually at Paramount with Spike way back in the day, 21 years ago. Moved all of our fans to Fox, built that business, moved them to ESPN, built that business, started out at 3 million. Now they're at 25 million, something like that. Our fans move. And the business of TKO for Mark and I is kind of purpose built for where streaming and the market's at. At Netflix, they want big events. So we're going to do the boxing event in September.
And you got the WWE now.
Deal there, and they have it internationally. ESPN wanted a big event, our big event, which is our PLEs domestically. They got now. David wants to build a streaming service. We want to broadcast. We wanted to get rid of the old model of pay-per-view. That's what TKO, as we've envisioned it a long time ago, is built.
They're basically just reconfiguring what the dynamic is with live sports and combat sports as we've seen them on pay-per-view. They have successfully no longer will have to rely on putting an extra ticket price on the PLEs, the premium live events, whether it's UFC or WWE right now, because now they've moved it off the model. The model's now not even there. And part of the commentary that was being said was the fact that what is on there right now for premium live events, Logan Paul fights or fights that go on, that start at midnight, boxing matches. And it's true. It's very true. And so now TKO Group Holdings has made it. Let's get into what they've done. So I did some research on what the evolving sports landscape is right now. Now, we've talked about this. We're going to go into a little bit more here. Overall summary, WWE right now currently has their flagship programming with Monday Night Raw on Netflix, Friday Night SmackDown on USA, NXT on CW, premium live events moving from Peacock to ESPN in 2026. Securing new homes and substantial increases in value on all those deals. Notably, especially for Netflix for Raw, which again is the deal that they're getting basically $1 billion a year for, and the PLEs, which they're making $350 million for those. Now UFC has their domestic broadcast rights moving from ESPN to Paramount Plus and CBS in a landmark agreement that not only doubles their annual media rights, but shifts their distribution model away from traditional pay-per-views in the U.S. So now they're going to get a substantial lift in annual media rights revenue, enhanced financial predictability, and stability. So this is everything for them. So let's make sure we know all the numbers here and try to dial them all up. So Monday Night Raw right now was on USA Network, and originally they had it for $250 to $260 million annually, with some estimates making it around $265. Then Friday Night SmackDown was at getting $1 billion total over 5 years and approximately $205 million at that point. NXT originally was going for $30 million, between $30 and $50 million on USA Network. And then the premium live events with Peacock, the deal that's ending right now, either at the end of 2025 or March 2026, $180 million a year. So that's what they have now. But the new deals are now in place. So let's just make sure we see how much money they're making. 10-year, $5 billion deal right now with Netflix for Monday Night Raw. And of course, also the deal includes the fact that all programming of WWE goes to everywhere else around the world internationally. They don't have to worry about doing individual broadcast deals. Netflix is carrying everything for them. International broadcast rights for SmackDown, NXT, original WWE content, and premium live events for all international, outside of the U.S. Outside of North America, I'm pretty sure. And Friday Night SmackDown, their deal, $1.4 billion over the 5-year term, $280 million annually. So they're making now. This is on the average right now, $500 million a year for Netflix on their deal right there. Remember, and that is for the international rights, all the international carriage of all their content, and for Raw on Netflix. Add it up. Now we're at $780 million. $280 million annually for USA Network. And then NXT, another 5-year deal. And the value, if I remember seeing it, was between $30 and $50 million. Again, keep moving that up. Let's just round it up and say, okay, let's make it $900 million right now. And now the new ESPN deal, which again, originally $180 million on Peacock. Now $325 million annually. Over $1.2 billion guaranteed on broadcast deals. $1.2 billion guaranteed. And that's everything there. And for the ESPN deal, just to give you some more information. So live events in the U.S. begin in 2026. All marquee events. Events will be available on ESPN's new direct-to-consumer streaming service. We talked about that all last week. And potentially, even select events will be simulcast on ESPN's linear and networks. Almost doubled the deal that they had for pay-per-views. Just like that. That is crazy. And remember, these deals are all set up now where they're 5 years locked in, guaranteed. SmackDown, NXT, PLEs. Monday Night Raw is a 10-year deal, but it's 5 years to extend to 10. For the next 5 years, they get $1.2 billion. That's astronomical. And the UFC has just gotten a deal that's amazing in its own. Because the deal they got them, UFC got more money. Or as much money. Now, TKO inheriting UFC, the deal they got for them, $550 million was originally set up. And that goes to the end of 2025. And UFC was important because that's what helped to build up on ESPN Plus, the service they sent out and launched in April 2018. And it helped a lot to build that platform to lead to the next phase of ESPN Now Today with the new ESPN Direct-to-Consumer app, which is the direction you need to go to. The new deal now, keep this in mind, as I said, $1.2 billion. And the UFC runs less events than WWE does, right? But the importance of this is the new UFC deal. Paramount is set to become the exclusive U.S. home for all UFC events under a $7.7 billion media rights agreement starting in 2026. Average, they're going to make $1.1 billion. With less content, the content that you have to go and do, the events right now for UFC, there's 13 marquee numbered events and 30 fight nights accessible to subscribers of Paramount Plus with a basic subscription, as selected number of events will be simulcast on CBS. But they don't even have as much programming as WWE does. But what they did right here was to set up this deal right here for UFC. The UFC has more value than WWE does. For a lot of reasons. Number one, most importantly, is that UFC is a legitimate sport. You have a more stringent, stronger adult audience there. Of course, they were always wanting to make it where TKO would try to go ahead and mesh both sports together. But then with UFC, you also have gambling. Legitimate gambling can be done with UFC. That's why people really care about it so much. And imagine if TKO does something where they're able to go ahead and get themselves embedded into, well, the thing is the advertisers they can get for UFC as well. They can definitely get betting. They can get gambling onto their platform, which they already do now. There is significantly more advertising dollars they can get for UFC as a result. Because when you look at the advertisers that WWE gets, they're still kind of a little bit of the schlock that they always get, right? Certain movies, certain products, Prime Energy and all these other things, right? But, they're getting hard lemonades and seltzers and things like that, which doesn't make money, don't get me wrong. But UFC can actually command more money on advertising, probably more value for their advertising. So let me put it to you like this. What this all means is that for TKO Group Holdings, UFC now officially becomes priority, significantly more priority over WWE. So in the hierarchy of things right now, WWE cannot afford to falter. Like UFC, they just need the stars they have right now, and they just do the matches. See, UFC can just do their matches and set them up as they want as just regular matches. But for WWE, okay, they have to go along with this preconceived, predetermined match notion, okay? It's still not real. There might be reality things, or realistic things, of course, in wrestling. But they are based on the circus of storylines and character development. And at this moment, they're very limited on that. And for UFC, there is no competition. Bellator is not even in the picture right now. And one other combat sports, not really. UFC owns combat sports right now. Boxing, no longer a factor until boxing becomes something that will be a complement to the TKO Group Holdings portfolio. But now, WWE has to understand, hey, you got the broadcast deals. That was what TKO Group Holdings was able to provide for you, okay? These are the things that Vince McMahon could not do. Vince McMahon can give us the spectacle, the pomp and circumstance of WrestleMania, and the events that we got out of that as well. And Triple H and his team have inherited it. But they have to be understanding the responsibility and the accountability they have right now to be able to keep up with the UFC, which has an easier road to go by. Meanwhile, that's not the same to be said for WWE, because they can have lulls and they have competition. So there's some justification probably from TKO for the fact that they need to go ahead and squash their competition. They're not even worrying about using NXT anymore now to put a buffer up against AEW, because it didn't matter. AEW All In still got 180,000 buys on pay-per-view, and they got a great crowd. So it didn't work. NXT is not going to work. So instead, now they're going to use their main roster. And this time, they're not even going to use their main roster. They're going to use one of their biggest draws right now, John Cena. They're going to use the retirement tour to go up and counter program against AEW. They're doing that to survive, because the company right now has $1.2 billion in broadcast deals in play. And they have to deliver for the next 5 years. And the trajectory, the direction this company's going, this will not work. The current setup of, let's go and get LA Knight out there to team up with CM Punk to go up against Seth Rollins or his minions, right? In the Vision with Braun and Braun, right? Braun. That's not going to work. The MFT, setting them up and doing things, that's not going to work either. WWE's got to think bigger. That's a lot of money they're getting invested in them, which is to the credit of their bettors, to quote Steven Regal. Their bettors, okay? Those people, TKO Group Holdings, they got that company a lot of money. And you know what? When you had the deals that you had before, which was just short of $1 billion, and you had NXT and SmackDown and Raw and USA, and you had SmackDown on Fox, and Vince was still around. Hey, the one thing was that was an issue for under Vince for SmackDown was the fact that they couldn't get the advertising dollars. They couldn't get enough advertising to warrant more of the deal. The ratings were okay. The ratings, they were number one in their time in what their demographic was and what they were trying to do. So that actually worked for them. Fox probably were satisfied with the ratings numbers, but the advertising dollars did not match. They did not compute. So that's why that deal was lost. Otherwise, TKO, an original setup with Nick Khan and what he did again foster the deals before, yeah, they worked. But these people that go ahead and went and sold these packages, got the commission on these packages to get these deals done. They did their job. All right. With Vince McMahon, they brought in a bunch of savages. Okay. These are sharks in TKO. To be able to go and get these massive, lucrative broadcast deals, they are good at what they do. Okay. And the idea of the portfolio, Ari Emanuel, Mark Shapiro, Nick Khan, that whole group right there, man, they are smart and they're ruthless. And I'm saying right now, Triple H time is numbered right now. His time in creative is numbered. I don't think it's going to be there for that long. Because with all this responsibility here, I don't think he's going to be set for that. Somebody else is going to be in. And I'm telling you, The Rock must be in something place in this, because I think if anybody's going to be a wrestling mind that's going to be probably still around by the end of this broadcast deal, my guess is The Rock and whoever he decides to go and bring on board. And that's what I think happens. The Rock will still have leverage. 5 years from now, I think he'll still be very important in that board of directors. And I still think that he will have a swaying interest into the wrestling, into the TV product that comes. Because if WWE thinks they're going to just continue to go along with Triple H's direction, he can't think big like Vince McMahon. He's incapable of that. It's very clear. They're just kind of like trying to satisfy the company. Because Triple H has no autonomy here. He doesn't. They've been kind of left alone to their things. But guess what? Next year, they've already had a little bit of maneuvering and things going around where, they have taken shape into the company itself, the direction, the way the show's shot, the way it's presented, and also doing some deals he's already done so far with some of the talent and how a lot of people have been cut out. And we have a juvenile delusional fandom that doesn't understand what's going on here and what this means. I'm trying to bring this into context for you. I want you to understand this and be clear about this, what they've done. Now, let's move along into what happens next. So again, the UFC deal that just happened now with Paramount plus CBS Skydance, that is set. With 43 some odd events. We're not talking Ultimate Fighter. We're not talking about anything else, right? It's those events. Live events that can be betted on, that can get some large advertising dollars. The fact that we even put it on the Tiffany Network, CBS, that's huge. With less content, TKO got more money. More money per dollar. WWE has to go and put out extra content, right? Remember, they got to go documentaries, specials, the Unreal series, things like that. They got to go to on a regular basis. And they have to go ahead and churn out 2-night events 4 times a year. Do the deals with Saudi Arabia. And get big gates for everything they have and charge up the yin-yang to make the money. With the UFC, that's normally like, oh, you go to Vegas, and Vegas people already spend like crazy for those events, right? Think about it. Now, what does this mean about future revenue? Because for them, they have to look at how this is all going to turn out. So TKO, with the new rights deals, expecting to projectedly earn $2.285 billion. That is crazy. An increase of 84%, because before these deals, before all this, they were earning $1.24 billion on the deals they had for both WWE and UFC. And now it's almost doubled. Almost doubled. So now the revenue is going to basically change. They're looking at trying to make revenue for TKO as a whole, which includes the Professional Bull Riders Tour, IMG, On Location, all these other pro companies they have under their umbrella. They're looking to go and earn revenue in the area of $4.6 billion in 2025, including the new broadcasting deals that are starting to kick in. $4.6 billion. They're not playing with their money. UFC puts out a good product, very consistent. And Dana White has proven to be good leadership throughout. And now we're here, because, I mean, that's the thing, too. With Dana White, their direction, what they're doing, it's been consistent. People love UFC. They're in the right direction. I can't say the thing for Paul Levesque. He's not in the same field. Not even close. The fact that in the broadcast deals they were able to do with one deal, think about this. WWE, they had to go and get, for all their content, they had to go and do 4 deals or 3 deals to get what they got done. Actually, 4. No, 3. I'm sorry. It's 3. Okay. But they had to go and do 3 deals combined to get all their TV content together to get to what they did. But they were able to go from $690 million to $1.185 million combined in 2026. UFC, with their live events product, just like that, they were going to go a full 100% increase from $550 million to $1.1 billion. Done. Now, one of the other things that's also a benefit for UFC, Dana White obviously still has pull when it comes to what's going on with UFC. He already said the new Paramount deal will result in increased fighter pay, stating performance bonuses will obviously go up, and a direct benefit to athletes stemming from the increased media rights revenue, enhanced compensation for fighters and talent, linked to the lucrative media rights deals, can lead to improved morale, better talent retention, and attract higher caliber athletes to both. But like I said, UFC right now, okay, the fighters are getting the advantage. What are the stars in WWE right now getting as a result of this? We've been hearing a lot of pay cuts. We're not hearing anything about any bumps in pay for the WWE superstars, are we? Not at all. Does everyone understand where we're coming from here? Where I'm going with this? It's very important. Meantime, hey, UFC, they got all their shows that are set up on Paramount Plus. They're going to be able to see the streaming numbers. And if it goes on CBS, man, on Friday nights or Saturday nights, that's got to be crazy. It's going to be wild. Meanwhile, the kind of issues that WWE has right now, currently with their own setup, is look, they're going to get eyeballs to watch live. For WWE, right? When I heard Disco Inferno on Keeping It 100 with Conan, he's talking about the fact of that WWE gets their social media following 75 billion followers. When Brock Lesnar returns, it's like the social media following, that's like really where they want to get their audience. No, you want them to watch the television. I would tell that to Disco, okay? All due respect. You're making your broadcast partners want the WWE universe to be watching on the TV, onto the streaming services live to catch the advertisers as it happens. So they do not want to have where the ratings continue to falter, and they're allowed to continue to falter when this shouldn't be. Like, look, on the current case of the ratings right now, NXT this past week, 728,000 viewers, and it did not beat the TMZ Hulk Hogan documentary on Fox, which I just saw very little promotion for. And the Fox special got 1 million viewers. CW, it didn't win the night. SmackDown on USA, now that it's a 2-hour format, 1.557 million viewers. It's still down from where it's been before. And the Netflix audience on Raw, well, we already know they've been continuing to go decline and getting some of their record low ratings now, or record low viewership, right? Or watch hours, whatever they call it. Hours viewed. And that does not help for them either. Yeah, the Hulk Hogan special, 1 on the demographic and 1 on viewers. Look at that. As a matter of fact, for total viewers, Oh no, 1849 did NXT did win. Okay, I'll give them that. But now, we already know that UFC is going to get the ratings when they're going to get those set up over on CBS and Paramount Plus. Like, it's pretty easy for them to go ahead and get measured and managed and analyzed for what they're going to be able to get and what kind of advertising dollars they can get back. At the end of the day, WWE is slightly inferior to what UFC can bring. Because really, it's an easier sell to get UFC somewhere else. I mean, that's just where it is. And think about this also, that UFC also has existed half the time that WWE has been existing. Think about it like that. That says a lot. It's also about management. It's also about leadership. It was something to be said when Vince McMahon was running the show, where you could complain all you want about creative and what they were doing in certain directions, but you know what? It worked for all these years. Because remember, the kind of money that Vince McMahon made off the deal was $9 billion in valuation for WWE, and he got it. And as far as TKO Group Holdings is doing right now, they're still trying to recoup on that investment. They still have to recoup on that, and they haven't gotten there yet. It's a pretty big deal. And so why should we be worried about what's going on right now with the product? Well, let me leave it to Vince Russo, who talked about this on one of his recent programs, that they really are struggling right now because of what they're doing, because the creative is not a guy creative. Here's what Vince Russo had to say.
We parade Brock Lesnar out there again. Bro, Triple H's booking is down to two things. If you want to know how Triple H books, this is how he books, guys. It's real simple. Number one, he books for the pop. And number two, he takes that pop and now he puts it on social media. Now he puts it on YouTube so they can tell Disco how they generated 75 million views on Brock Lesnar's return. That's Triple H's bag of tricks. That is it. The pop, and then take that and put that on social media and have 75 million people watch it, and my work is done here.
They're not making that much money on advertising over there, okay? YouTube's going to monetize only so much, but WWE is only going to benefit from that. And that's small compared to the money that the broadcasters are actually giving them, okay? What kind of money do you think WWE is going to make off of, even a million viewers or 2 million views off of anything off of YouTube or Instagram or whatever else? It's not that much money. It's not that much money. It's nothing close to what the broadcasters are offering. I would care about the real money I'm making for them, which means I would care what's on the television screen. And if the quality of what's on television on a consistent basis for 2.5 hours, 2 hours, whatever it is, if it's that good, and then you can go ahead and generate it on the social media after the fact, great. I mean, listen, on the streaming services and all these other channels that they're on to be on demand, that's fine. If they can get some of the on-demand audience who can follow back up and catch the show on the platforms, great. But they should not be prioritizing social media. Should not be doing that. That's not the way to go. It's not going to work that way. They can't be doing that. And what really is an issue is, okay, you start off Monday Night Raw on Netflix, and of course you have the CM Punk LA Knight bit that was going on, which, God, that thing drowned out. And the only memorable thing that came out of that was Braun Breaker saying this.
Oh, what? You're 47! What are you gonna do? Your gear! Not even in your gear! And you're 40! Not even I'll kick your ass! Oh, yeah, you're done. Go down here. You guys are 100 years old! Come on!
Breaker off.
Okay. Which is funny here, but in the context of things, I mean, that doesn't sound good to hear that. And Paul Heyman also trying to go make up things to make up. Okay, Bronson Reed with shoes wrapped around him as the tribal thief, the Shula Fala. That's the best you got? I mean, that's what you got for him, and for Braun Breaker, it's like, whatever. That's what you're working with right now to build up anything. Horrible. And for Triple H right now, his track record right now of trying to be like the player's coach, it's not working for him. Let me put it to you like this. Somebody on X actually posted a collage of some of the stars that were brought back to the company after SummerSlam 2022, and now they're gone again. So Braun Strowman, Dakota Kai, Ashanti the Adonis, the Good Brothers, Tegan Knox, Authors of Pain, AJ Francis, and whoever Sarah Logan was when she was with the War Raiders. I forget the name they had for her. It's Taya Valkyrie's finisher. I can't remember it now. But they're all gone. And the other person in that collage you can add to it, Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux. And for what everyone wants to go and think about what's going on with those two, well, Karrion Kross, I'll let him speak for himself. He appeared on the Ariel Helwani show today and spoke about it. And there's a couple of things I want to bring up what's being said here because of the juvenile delusional fandom out there that's upset about what happened here. Okay? Upset that Killer Kross is going to be gone, or Karrion Kross. I'm sorry, I'm calling him Killer Kross. Now that he's out of there, I'm going back to calling him Killer Kross. All right? He calls himself that on X anyway, so let's just go and, respectfully, huh? Karrion Kross had a horrible go at it in WWE, and that's completely their fault. NXT, the booking was basically kind of just a reinterpretation of his Killer Kross character. That's pretty much it. But at that point, they had Scarlett actually accompany him, which was the one thing that was really good out of that mix is that you had Scarlett and Killer Kross together. That was actually the one thing that was done right in NXT. Fine. But, Vince McMahon did not feel anything about him. And you know what? No matter what you tried to do with Karrion Kross, that character with Final Testament, it wasn't going to work. You're just going to put together a faction just to put together a faction and think it's going to work. It didn't. And then the same thing going with, the wonderful creative of WWE where they value favors over titles. They value bracelets over titles. They value you did wrong. You were wrong. Or hold my hand up when I win the belt off of you. Those kind of things have value over the belts. Come on. Anyways, let's go to what Killer Kross actually said when it came to the setup for what happened. First of all, the offer that was given to him when negotiations broke down. He explains.
How did we get here? How is this possible?
Well, truth of the matter is, you've already stated, my contract was up last week. I never actually received a contract, like an offer, until last week. So,
do you remember what day? So your contract expired August 10th, which I do believe was Sunday.
Yeah. I think it was Tuesday off the top of my head.
Okay.
I got the offer. I wanted to know how they came to the valuation of that offer. Just wanted, some information, some metrics, some analytics that's supporting to, hey, this is how we got here. When I inquired about that, they were unwilling to provide that information and told me I had 24 hours to agree to the offer or they were rescinding it. So, the next day we talk. I ask if they have the information. They don't. And I said, I can't make an informed decision without the information. And I'd like to keep the dialogue open. And they rescinded the offer. And that's actually where we're at.
Wow.
So, and it's not meant, this isn't like, I know how a lot of people feel when they make an exit, right? I can empathize with everybody's experience. Every experience exiting the company is different, right? This isn't like to disparage WWE, but because there's so many convoluted stories out there going on, it actually even to some degree can affect our livelihood of what we're supposed to be doing afterwards. People don't want to reach out because they're not sure if they're tampering and stuff like that. The goal has always been to be with WWE. My wife and I still want to be like with WWE. Like I'm still at I'm at the table for conversations. I did not step out of the conversation. You know what I mean? So, you know, we still want to be there.
It's amazing. I mean, it still comes down to the fact that WWE is the very top of where your career stands in professional wrestling. That is still the place to go. I mean, I'm never going to deny that. Especially when you have the kind of exposure that you could possibly get. If this is managed right, I mean, you become a big star in all this. Killer Kross has still upside. Yeah, people are going to talk about he's 40 years old. It doesn't matter. I mean, he still has, I mean, they have obviously trust in other stars that are 40 years old still in that company and putting them across. And they're not necessarily worried about the fact that you have somebody that's 40 years old and that it's not enough time for them to get over. Yes, there is enough time. Plus the fact that if you were to bring him back now anyway, he was already getting over by himself, which is very familiar to somebody else that we know that went the same way. Matt Cardona, because he did get himself over. And Matt Cardona proved what we were talking about since 2019, that plenty of stars can make it outside of WWE. We already knew that. Alberto Del Rio, you know, except for some things that happened with him when he came to, you know, being in a relationship with Saraya, which that didn't help things for him at all. But AJ Styles thrived really well outside of WWE before he decided to go and come into the company. Same thing for Cody Rhodes. He was doing just fine outside of the company. People can do that. And of course, that was before AEW existed. AEW had not even come to existence yet. It was just an idea at the time I was talking about that. But then come full circle, now AEW is an option for everybody. And the other companies are following suit. I mean, TNA, with the help of WWE right now, is looking to go and get themselves on a broadcast deal, and eventually they're going to get themselves somewhere in the next 2 months because Bound for Glory is not that far away, and I'm sure they're trying to get that broadcast deal finalized before then. Jonathan Coachman was talking with Mark Henry, and I think it's the Behind the Turnbuckle Studios and all, or the show called Off the Ropes. And Coach and Mark Henry talked about the idea of Karrion Kross and what he could be doing. Could he be able to follow the steps that Matt Cardona, and to a point in the same kind of vein, because Chelsea Green also had to go outside of the company and thrive before she came into the WWE herself, right? For the second time. But think about it like that. Could Killer Kross go the Matt Cardona route?
He is selling merchandise like number 2 only to Jey Uso. The crowd the other night was chanting for him, and Triple H said, yep, you got Brock, as if they were chanting Brock and not Kross. It to me, I believe the reasons. But when it comes to the payments that you're talking about, they're trying to get it like in a pyramid where you got the one guy at the top and everybody's below. At some point, there's a number where you can say, I can go do what Matt Cardona did, and I can make more on the indie scene. And Karrion Kross might be a guy that could do exactly what Matt Cardona did.
I think he can.
Killer Kross has done a better job marketing himself than anything that WWE has done for him. I don't care about the vignettes they've done for him and do all the TikTok stuff. Honestly, for what my money's worth, I think Killer Kross, when he had his own crew, his own kind of setup to do his own content on social media, his documentary, his book, he does better marketing himself and promoting himself than the company will do for him. It's not dismissing the fact that WWE couldn't possibly market him and push him to the moon. They don't want to. They don't want to. And the other part that's very interesting is very telling is when you hear about Killer Kross trying to go ahead and get things together with the stars that he brought back, that collage I talked about. Triple H actually had some pull into what was going on with certain talent, but then changes were made. And then when a certain quarterly call for the company comes through and the public offering is not as high as it should be, they're not making as much money, and the company decides to go ahead and say, hey, you know what, Paul, you need to cut some people. Well, he's going to be the bad guy. And now's the point where Triple H is not even going to be the bad guy anymore. Now he has somebody in between. Let's go with more with Killer Kross on the Ariel Helwani show today.
Have you reached out to Paul personally?
No.
Why not?
I had a conversation with him earlier in the year about all of this. They took a point man and they put him between us to communicate. So now the point man is responsible for all of the dialogue.
You can't circumvent that guy. You have a personal relationship, a history with Paul.
He knows that I want to talk.
Yeah.
And he knows what I want to do. He knows.
Are you tempted to send him a text?
I don't know what I would send him because that guy who they put in front of them to talk to me is telling me that everything is coming from them.
Got it.
I've made it very, very clear that I want to keep the lanes of communication and dialogue open. It's a very weird situation.
Yeah.
It's weird, dude.
So Killer Kross is in the unfortunate situation that Triple H does not want to handle those calls. I'm sure when he had to start cutting people like he did earlier this year, he doesn't want that kind of pressure. He's got too much other stuff on the fire he has to worry about. He has to go and toe the company line. He has to go and take care of things. Because it's not just him on the line, it's Stephanie McMahon on the line. The McMahon name doesn't matter anymore in that company, okay? So Paul and Stephanie could be easily out of the picture at some point. I would not be surprised if before the 5 years are up, that Stephanie and Triple H are both out of the company. I mean it. Because the way that things were done, Triple H is obviously not going to do it that way. He has chosen the path he wants to go. He owns it now. And the stars he thought he could work and rely on to help out, he thought he was going to work with, well, they're not there now. So, change for him. And here's another shocking thing that comes out of this interview, is that Killer Kross was not going to have Scarlett on the new deal.
When they made that offer, was it for the two of you?
Nothing. She had nothing. There was no offer to her.
Nothing?
No. I was told at one point, because I did inquire, of course.
Yeah.
After we deal with you, we'll deal with her.
Do you think that they were going to get to her? Like once they were probably hoping you'd say yes, do you think they were going to get to her? Or do you think there was a chance that she was not going to be brought back regardless?
I don't know.
Wow.
But I don't see why we just could not have done things the way we did them before.
Because Kevin, his real name, Kevin, it's a different company than when Triple H brought you back in. Because now TKO has made all the deals they've made, and things are not going to be operating the same they were. No, Triple H is now a cog in the machine. He's being controlled by the team at TKO. They're going to do things the way they're going to do it. It doesn't matter anymore. Not at all. And it's unfortunate. As I said before, I mean, Scarlett, very talented, not just as a valet, but also as an in-ring performer. She is. Another story, because Ariel Helwani, I guess he's just hitting up on all cylinders today. He also, and if people want to say he's a puppet for TKO, no, he's not. He just has access. And he's he is, very even-handed with his interviews. He just gets stuff out of people. He does a really good job of it. He spoke with Shayna Baszler as well today. And there was talk about her. She still had 3 years left on her contract. Here's what she said.
Yep. Just for the sake of sort of being accurate, were you released or did your contract expire? How did it go down?
I was released. I had actually not too long ago signed an extension. So yeah, it would have. I wish it would have ran out, but yeah, I was released.
How much longer was on there?
I had like 3 more years.
Oh, okay. Wow. So you just signed it. Was it relatively newly signed? Okay. What was your reaction when you found out about their decision?
It's kind of funny because I wouldn't say it's obviously never a good feeling, I don't think, in rare cases. But it was not unexpected. Like we hadn't, as far as like Zoe and I, and with Sonya being released, and then since Sonya they didn't renew her contract, and then from that time, we just weren't on TV, me and Zoe. And so you kind of get this feeling like we were, trying to pitch stories and ideas and do our own stuff on social media and that kind of thing. And just nothing was really hitting with creative. So, I mean, as much as it's a bummer in that moment, it's kind of like, yeah, I kind of knew this was where we were at. So
how did you find out?
They called me.
Okay.
They called me. I was fortunate to be one of those that did not find out through social media. But
Sure.
Wow. But now Shayna also makes the point that she could find her way back in some way going to AEW, which would be good for her if they go ahead and do that, because, well, let me go ahead and get to what was being reported off of that as well, that when it comes to AEW, it's not a secret. She's good friends with Marina Shafir. I have a lot of friends there, so there's been some discussion as to what the future could hold for sure. She could go back to Ring of Honor if she wants to go back there. Like, she could work. I mean, she already has a previous rapport working in Ring of Honor before Tony Khan bought the company in the Sinclair days. So for her to go and go back into that, that's how I even recognized her in the first place before they brought her in. And again, another example of very well positioned and placed in NXT. Did not translate well enough into the main roster, except for some of the things they did with her and Nia Jax, putting them together, and, just missed out for whatever reason. And it's unfortunate, too, because also great talent, very talented, no matter what. Another thing I want to bring up as well, Dave Meltzer bringing up the idea, and this was from about a week ago, but still I think this is important. We just brought up what Vince Russo said about the storytelling of what they're doing right now. And that Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio also followed the same suit about booking for moments and not long-term storylines. And I just want to make sure that I've made my point about this point. So did Vince Russo. And now I'll leave it to Dave Meltzer.
From your perspective, has WWE's emphasis on moments over long-term payoffs fundamentally changed how they measure booking success?
Absolutely.
And if so, how sustainable is that model in keeping fan engagement high?
When you're booking for moments, knowing that the fans are more interested in moments and not interested in long-term storytelling, it makes championships secondary. It creates a situation where you put on a pay-per-view, and I've seen this from some people, sometimes it's a reaction to AEW, sometimes in reaction to WWE when they have a great pay-per-view of there were no surprises, ergo the show was boring. If you don't deliver a surprise, no matter how much you deliver in the ring, no matter how much, it's like, if I don't get a surprise, it's boring.
Yeah. And I think that is in the current feel of everyone out there and how upset they are with the current trajectory of wrestling when it comes to what WWE does or what AEW doesn't do enough of, according to the juvenile delusional fandom. As we say, they're juvenile and delusional because they want moments. And the fact that, okay, tonight AEW had Dynamite and they were setting things up for Forbidden Door. Took a while to get to Edge and Christian reuniting, right? You get Samoa Joe that did come back tonight. You have Hangman Adam Page and MJF and doing the setup where they've been going back and forth for a while right now. And the whole Seabiscuit line. And now MJF has just talked his way into giving up his contract to cash in on Hangman Page at Forbidden Door, which is a great storyline. Then Jon Moxley, now in a lights out match, 5-on-5, setting up for Forbidden Door. They got that match set up where Kenny Omega is going to be sitting on one side, along with Darby Allin and Will Ospreay and others. And then Young Bucks and the Death Riders are going to be on the other side, and they'll have to face all each other in that setup. Setting things up as well, they're continuing to move along when it comes to Mercedes Moné and the setup for matches coming up for them. for Forbidden Door, where Athena will take on Thomas Toni Storm for the women's title. And there's been the Eliminator Tournament, or the Eliminator Tournament they've had right now for the tag team titles, where the Hurt Syndicate will take on the winners of the Elimination Tournament that they have right now in place as we speak, what they've been doing as well. But they've been doing long-term storytelling, which is what I prefer. But for the WWE fans that watch right now, they're not necessarily into this, right? They're just not. And also not necessarily doing a whole lot in particular of development of storylines when they put matches together and they put, okay, here's a 2-on-2, here's a 4-on-4, all these kind of things just to set things up. Adam Copeland dealing with Stokely Hathaway, which is more of his issue of going after FTR. But now that Christian and Cage are back together, or Copeland Christian are back together, now we're going to get those two to go ahead and go after FTR and set things up for that. So a lot of matches are already being set up now overall for AEW Forbidden Door and what they have set up for that now coming up, which is great. As far as we know, the current storyline of the current matches we have so far, we'll have the lights out steel cage match where Kenny Omega and Kota Ibushi, the Golden Lovers, accompany Darby Allin, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay versus Death Riders, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley, the Young Bucks, and Gabe Kidd, who's also been in storyline throughout this whole Death Rider storyline throughout. So Kazuchika Okada versus Swerve Strickland. They haven't done too much here tonight, I don't think, for the on Dynamite, but I guess they're going to do that for Collision for the AEW Unified Championship. Thomas Toni Storm versus Athena for the Women's World Title. And also this is where the match is what is the contract that Athena won from the Casino Gauntlet match at All In. Then you have a 4-way match for the TBS title with Mercedes Moné, Alex Winder, Persephone from CMLL, and an undetermined name from Stardom, because we have certain stars from New Japan and other promotions that are going to be part of this whole setup. Kyle Fletcher against Hiromu Takahashi for the TNT title, so New Japan versus AEW. Zack Sabre Jr. will defend the IWGP World Heavyweight title. We don't have an idea who his opponent will be as of yet, but we still have time. And Hangman and a Patriot MJF versus the AEW World title. And again, MJF cashing in his Casino Gauntlet Championship match. And Copeland and Cage versus the Matriarchies. Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne in a tag team match to set up. But of course, FTR is in their purview coming up. So that's all being set up for the pay-per-view coming up. Not a week from Sunday in London. Triple Mania 33 is coming up this weekend. We're going to talk about that, and most likely I will probably do a post show for that because the show's going to be available on YouTube, which is great. And so far, the matches you already have so far scheduled. You have a mixed trios match with Judgment Day, where Finn Balor, JD McDonough, and Raquel Rodriguez will take on Mr. Iguana, Nino Hamburguesa, and Lola Vice. Los Garza will defend the World Tag Team titles in a street fight versus Pagano and Psycho Clown. El Macias, or Judas Macias before, or, Minuet, as you might remember, takes on El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. for the AAA Latin America Championship. And the Reina de Reinas will be defended, and that'll be Flamer, Fabi Apache, and Natalia. That's great. Natalia has been putting a different feel to her character since she's been out of the WWE spotlight right now, still with the company, but she's been getting to work in other companies and, working in Bloodsport, working in a few other places, and she's having a good old time. Now she gets to work here again in the AAA, which is awesome for her. Good stuff. And again, the Mega Championship being defended, El Hijo de Vikingo will defend against Dominic Mysterio, Dragon Lee, and El Grande Americano. That is this weekend. If I had to go and do predictions right now, Judgment Day will win the mixed trios match. I say Dominic Mysterio will win the AAA Mega Championship. That I think is a given. I'll take Pagano and Psycho Clown to win the World Tag Team titles. Macias will retain the Latin American Championship. And, I'm going to just guess that Natalia will win the Reina de Reinas Championship over Flamer coming up this weekend. And that's coming up Saturday night. We'll talk about that coming up this weekend on the Wrestling Culture Podcast. Mostly we'll do a post show for that. I look forward to going and talking about that and letting everybody know all about that and see how it turns out. And as I already said before, there have been reports coming out now that WWE is looking to go ahead and reportedly put John Cena in matches where there's a good chance the AEW will have to deal with competition. Now, I could also talk about Vince McMahon being on the TMZ special, a documentary about Hulk Hogan not being happy with Triple H and what he's been doing with the company right now, and also just the way that they handled his Hulk Hogan's passing, that Vince McMahon felt like he's one of the biggest stars ever, and that's very much so, and chose not to go ahead, and it would have made his passing much more special and would have done a lot more to commemorate the loss of such a major character as we talked about. There's not much more I can say when it comes to John Cena being used. They're not going to use Saturday Night's Main Event now as a ploy. They want to use pay-per-views and put out new pay-per-views just for the sole purpose of screwing with AEW for all out coming up. And the same goes for AEW World's End. They decided to do that. It's not surprising to me to do that. But as again, we've already talked about earlier, look at what they're doing right now in terms of money. WWE has to go ahead and take out their competition. It's not even the way that Eric Bischoff, the way he had it before, but it's a matter of that TKO made all this money for them. And now what WWE can be doing in the process, not just do more to sustain and make good value on the content they're creating for those broadcast partners. How about take out their competition and prove that they are end-all be-all? Anyway, come back this week for the Triple Mania post show here on the Wrestling Show podcast, because wrestling needs us.